I started 5 companies before the age of 23. Most of them went bust. If you're starting a company, maybe you can learn from my mistakes. See, the summer before my first semester of school, one of my friends who was always way more entrepreneurial than me asked me if I could build him an app. Now, I had done a little bit of coding before, but never anything on that level. So I told him, let me learn a little bit and I'll take a stab at it. Little did I realize, not only did I actually enjoy doing that stuff, I was pretty good at it. All right, so I make this app, head off to school. A couple of months later, he reaches out again. Somebody he knows also needs software done. Enter the first company I ever started, a software development agency, which ran up until like a few months ago. So if you're starting a service business, listen to this set of tips. Number 1, don't charge hourly and don't charge per project. Do a hybrid of the two. Charge per project, but then for other changes that need to get done, charge hourly. The reason is that as you get more skilled, you'll start to finish tasks way faster. And so if you only charge hourly, you get punished. But if you only charge per project, anytime the client needs revisions, you're doing it for free. Which brings us to number 2, and this is really important. If you are doing a service business, especially in software, make sure you nail down the acceptance criteria very tightly. We are building X number of pages. Each pages will look exactly like Y. When a user clicks this button, only this thing will happen. Because what ends up happening is you're going to ship V1, and then you're going to have to ship 50 different tweaks along the way. Fast forward a couple months, and we get easily the most consequential business I ever started. All right, so like I said, I was a computer science major. There was this one class where we had to read these 20-page philosophy readings every night. I did not want to do those readings. I remember telling my brother I wish there was a website that I could just give the PDF to, and it would just tell me what it's about. Enter, notedly, the biggest SaaS product I ever made, and one that's still running to this day. This is the one that didn't go bust. Okay, so I basically spent my whole spring semester sophomore year building this thing. I slept like 4 hours a night every night, but once I had a working beta, I showed it to some people, and it was clear I was onto something special. I will note that most of the things you're told to do when building a company, and especially a software company, I did not do. For instance, I didn't validate the problem beforehand. I just knew that I had the problem. I didn't do building in public. I don't know, you can list off about anything that you're supposed to do. I didn't do it. All right, so now we fast forward a bit to fall of my junior year, which is when I really start marketing. I am someone who has never had social media pre-starting these businesses. Because of that, I don't really know what to make when I'm trying to make these ads. And so I sort of fumble around the whole first semester making whatever, and mostly focusing on paid ads, which I would argue was not the best thing for you to focus on early on, although it did end up with me getting like 50 or so subscribers by the end of fall. Now, 50 subscribers on a $5 price point is not a lot, but to me it was super exciting. So I went into the spring semester my junior year, super excited to get another 50 subscribers. I did not get 50 subscribers. I got 1,000. See, what happened was, one of my videos just happened to go viral, got like 3 million views. And from that one organic piece of content, I got the largest amount of subscribers in a given period of time that I ever have, even to date. All right, for the sake of this video, I'm gonna speed things up and fast forward all throughout Notedly's success to October 2024, my senior year, when I decided to start another edtech product. I got bored of the old location, so now we're on a rock. All right, so I clearly saw that there was money in edtech. Notedly was a summarization platform for students, so could I do it again? Turns out, no. All right, so this time around, me and my friend decided to build an essay writer. And after months and months of work, it was a really good essay writer. So we did get a lot of users onto the website. But for some reason, people were not sticking. And the critical mistake we made was, instead of trying to figure out why we had bad retention, we just scaled up our marketing spend. This led to exploding ad costs and almost nothing to show for it. The summer session hit, so we basically took a break, tried to figure out a little bit of the bugs. But again, we didn't stop to figure out why our retention was bad. Combine this with the fact that we both had a little bit of a moral quandary with the fact that we're selling an essay writer, and what you get a few months later is us formally shutting the company down. This is, in the journey, the first major failure. Unfortunately, it is not the last. Let's change locations. All right, let's talk about the fourth major company and the second major failure, Radar. This one's a little bit fresh because it ended a few weeks ago, but I hope I can explain both how and why it failed, and I think in this one will be the most learnings for everybody. All right, so senior year is done, I'm about to graduate, and me and 2 friends have this idea. Can we build a software that automatically applies to jobs for people? Now, at the time, this is a super novel idea. Nothing like it existed. But the key phrase there is, at the time. And you'll see that this becomes the whole undoing of the product. We start working throughout the summer, and by October, we actually have our first release build. At the time, that journey from then to October felt like forever, but now, looking back, that was really just the easiest part of the whole journey. All right, so we do our October release, and quite successfully, we're able to get a couple hundred users onto the platform. Quite unsuccessfully, the product doesn't really work that well, and users don't have any retention. This time I know better. We're going to fix retention, and we're going to fix the product too. So we basically close access again and take from October up until like January or February to fix all the bugs and try to improve the experience. We relaunch, and again, catastrophic failure. Users are not sticking on the platform. At least the product works, but there's no retention still. We're talking to users and basically realizing that the entire user experience is just wrong. But we don't know exactly what it is. Also, by this point in time, we've had competition that has gotten real traction. So we're at a point where we right now are pretty much exactly like a lot of our competition, and we don't have customers and don't have brand recognition. Obviously, we need to do something drastic. So we have this idea. What if we switch the entire platform to be from a website job board to an SMS job board? And what an SMS job board means is there's an AI texting you job postings, and you respond and interact as if you're texting a real person. This proved to be our real differentiator, and as we were building it, people were super excited. Everyone wanted to get their hands on it. But as per usual, every time you start a new project, it doesn't work correctly. The texting interface was super inventive and did get a lot of people interested, but nobody was sticking because it didn't work as they expected it to. And with a chatbot, that's really hard to gauge. It was around the same time that I stopped working my agency. I couldn't split my focus between Radar and the agency, and so I decided to drop the agency and focus fully on Radar. So to summarize, we're at our third launch. A year into building this, all 3 launches have been basically failures. We had one good thread going on throughout the entire thing, which was we were working through our school's funding accelerator. And if we got this, we would make $10,000, which for a business is not a lot, but at this stage in the business, it would be a lot. We could use it to market, we could use it to get more devs. And so about 1 month ago, we heard back from them. After 6-ish months of going through this process, we got rejected. This was a massive blow for me and for the whole team. It really showed that we still had not hit product market fit. It really showed that we hadn't figured out our problems yet. And we're now a year into this. And on top of all of that, there are competitors who are getting funded and who have figured out those problems with their unique take on user experience. But it just meant for us that we needed to make a decision. So with that, we decided to shut down, and that makes Radar the second failure. For you who's starting a business, what should you do to avoid becoming Radar? I would argue the biggest thing is don't build before you, number 1, have an audience, and number 2, have a fit, and I'll explain what I mean by that. See, what we kept doing is we would spend months building the product, then we would open it up to consumers, and then we would have to shut down again and then reopen again a few months later after we do some fixes and changes. Ideally, you could have started this as like an agency and said, okay, the 3 of us are going to auto-apply to jobs for you, but we're going to do it ourselves. And then kept that going until we found a price point that people were happy with, a mode of communication that people were happy with. That would have helped us to stumble along the texting thing actually quicker. But it would have allowed us to actually get customers before dedicating months to building this product. Like I said, Notably is the exception to the rule, not the rule. I built Notably without talking to anybody, and I got lucky. There's a world in which we could dedicate like another year to this, where we would spend more time on it. But at this point in all of our lives, it just doesn't make sense. All right, company number 5. This is one that I started a little bit the same time as Radar, but I was just kind of working on it in my free time, like a few hours every few weeks. One of my least favorite parts about building a company every single time was advertising it. So I'm trying to build, and I say trying because this one is still in development, trying to build something that can automatically generate ads for me. Now I am taking all of the learnings from Radar and these other companies in doing it. I have not built the product fully. I've just built the minimum thing that can allow me to become an agency that makes ads quickly for people. Once I've figured out a mode of communication that people are happy with, basically a UI, and a quality of video that people are happy with, only then will I start working on the product. And so this one is still out there. We're going to find out how it goes, and I'll share my journey live on this account. But I do hope this has been helpful for anybody who's trying to build a company themselves. I do hope that if you're trying to build a company, you can think very clearly about what I did wrong and how to not do it yourself. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. I know this video is bad. It's my first video, so it does mean a lot to me, and any feedback you can give me is super helpful. Best of luck in all of your businesses.